Okay, today on Musings with Rand, we're going to continue the Fraser Health Public Audit. Now, at popular request, I've been asked to, hey, you've been doing a lot of Singh families, but the East Asians are bad in BC too. Okay, so today I'm taking a look at an Eastern Asian family. So it'll be of equal opportunity because yes, I agree. As I've been going through the audit, the Eastern Asian families have also had a lot of controversy associated to them. So today we're going to look at the Chens. We're still on C. It takes so long to get through everybody, but we're still on C. Um, so the Chens themselves have been in the news in Canada, and for most of what you see of them, it's a lot of nepotistic, self-congratulatory. We're giving ourselves awards, and we're hiring ourselves and giving ourselves money. So, but not all of it seems harmless. So in Yellowknife, there was in 2025 a man who had, stolen money in a fraudulent loan. He was told to serve house arrest. In 2021, there was a drug trafficker who was trying to circumvent the legal system. And we even have a murder victim from 2025 as well. So this family is not immune to harm. But when we see Singh-Gill or pay the Chens, or when he's issuing money to the Chens and hiring them, it's not as I'm just going to hire you because you're a Singh. It's a little bit different how he approaches Eastern Asian businesses, and you'll start to see that as we go through the audit. So in 2016, the family contained 6 people on the payroll. So at the start of the period with which we're reviewing. So we had a private clinic physiotherapist. She wasn't actually working for Fraser. We had a woman operating under someone else's ID. She could have been an optometrist. So a researcher, a Chinese researcher who purchased a bug zoo in Victoria, a dentist, and an immigration consultant realtor. Okay, so we're going to go through some of them. We can see it went from 6 all the way up to 39. So by 2025, there were 39 of them issuing themselves money from the Fraser Health Authority. And the reason I picked this family in particular is because not a single one of them avoided a lie on their profiles. Every one of them lied. Now, only 10 of them actually claim links to Fraser Authority. But not one of those people told the truth on how on the duration of the link or their educational backgrounds. So we're going to start going through them. We'll start with the ones who were actually linked to Fraser Health. So here we've got 4 people. We've got a Carrie, a Ginny, a Charles, and a Chen. All of these people claim to work for Fraser Health Authority, and all of them were actually paid by Fraser Health Authority, but not one of them had the duration correct. So Carrie at the top, she claimed to be a project manager since 2023, but she was only on the books since 2024. So there was a 6 month to 1 year difference from what she was claiming. Ginny, Ginny claims she was paid since 2021, but she was only on the books for 2025. That's a 4 year difference. She claims to be a pharmacist. Charles, he claims to be a project support manager, employed since 2018, but he was only employed in 2020. So there's a 2 year difference. It's like they're trying to fill the gaps in when they were unemployed by claiming they were still working at their current employer. Because all of them claim to still be employed there, right? Then there's Chen. Chen is a security officer working with Paladin Security. He claims to be working in healthcare security since 2016, but he was only paid since 2025. So that's a 9 year difference, right? So those are the first 4 right up at the top. So high level, they seem like they are employed there, but not for the same length. So I mean, it begs the question, are they really employed or what else are they lying about? Then we got Iting. Now, Iting, he claims to be an RN at Fraser Health. First employed, it's a lady who was first employed in Canada in 2010 at a grocery store while working illegally on a study permit at Douglas College. She claims she was working with an autistic relative while she was writing papers in the UK with a Taiwan university. So we can see some of the things that she's claiming on this profile. There was another man operating under this name as an IT professional who graduated in 2018 from SFU. He has registered a technical business in Victoria in 2016. So we don't know if is the female nurse even real, or is she data created by this IT man? So because this will be a trend that we start to see often, where we start to see records that look like the people look the same, but they have different profiles. So then we got Samuel. There are two Samuels that claim they were employed at Fraser Health. One was hired immediately after the other gentleman was let go. So the first guy claiming to work there was the one on the left here. He was a contact tracing aide. He claims he was working while on a study permit at SFU. His education, I don't think it was actually, let me just confirm that. I don't think it was actually validated. What was his name? Samuel. I'm just going to open the thingy. No, there are no actual Chens listed in the Bachelor of Health Sciences. So he claims he studied for, he got a Bachelor of Health Sciences. There was a C and a Xiao Swan. So those are the closest we got, which was, one guy was a applied science engineer and the other one was a kinesiologist. So he lied, whoever the guy on the left is, he lied about having an education. And he also appears to have been working while he claims to be on that study permit. The man on the right, that seems to be the only guy that Fraser Health knows about, because he was the one paid during the period where he was on the books. This man claims that he worked at the insurance, like an insurance board in BC, but if you compare him to the woman in China, there's someone operating with his name with an interest in the Chinese bank called ICBC. And he's doing investment research with JP Morgan. So neither of these two Samuels graduated where they claimed. The one on the right also was not on the convocation list for the university he claims to graduate at. Neither Simon Fraser or UBC. So it appears like maybe this is the Chinese banker from JP Morgan trying to move to Canada, but we're not entirely sure. So why would you hire an investment banker at Fraser Health to be a senior consultant? Then we have Tina here. So Tina, she claims she's been working at Fraser Health Authority since 2013. But she was only paid in 2023. So she's over exaggerating her stay at Fraser Health by 10 years. Back in 2009, there was a student who took a trainee, like a health inspector trainee course with them, um, also linked to Fraser Health Authority. So she says, yeah, I was there. I took this course. I was a health inspector trainee. She claims to be working in Vancouver at a environmental health organization. Um, Both of these ladies claim to have graduated from BC IoT. Are these two women operating under the same identity documents? We also see this trend, like, I'll go back for a second on Samuel. Samuel leaves Fraser Health and goes to Vancouver Island Health. Tina does the reverse. She goes from Vancouver Island Health to go to Fraser Health. So it seems like they're jumping back and forth between the two institutions. Next, we'll go to William. So William here is, um, you know, there's a few problems with this record. There are two Williams, but there are four profiles for this man. The first three are non-overlapping. They appear to be for the same gentleman. So in 2009, William comes to Canada and opens his own company in sleep therapy. He does that for about 3 years, and then he takes a gap. Maybe studies at what was it, UBC? These are so small on my screen. I have to like open them in a larger window. Uh, he, yeah, so he studies between 2014 and 2016 psychology at the UBC. And then he becomes a mental health social worker in BC, working primarily with drug addiction. Then in 2022, he's working at WorkSafe BC. Now he's claiming, and for these last two records, the one in the middle claims to be graduated from UBC. He was not on the convocation list. He did not graduate. The third guy claims to have graduated from Simon Fraser University. Same thing. There's no William Chen on that convocation list. He did not graduate. So you've got a guy working at WorkSafe BC who didn't graduate, who might be working as a TA at SFU who did not go to that school. And maybe what he was doing instead was being a social worker in Maple Ridge. And, he burned that ID and came back to work in Richmond. So are these two gentlemen the same person, or are they two people operating under the same ID? So the only one who claimed an association to Fraser Health directly was the social worker. But neither him nor the man working beside him at work, working with a very similar photo and name of him at WorkSafe BC, neither of those two gentlemen had the educations they claimed. We also had this man here, Su-Wei Chen, who's a PhD candidate in water sciences at UBC. Now, he doesn't look like the other two men, so I'm assuming, like, he's a lot thinner. His face is less wide, so I'm assuming he's a different person. But you can see he was a scholarship winner in 2023. They offered $92,000 in scholarships to various students, and that was almost exactly what William got paid by Fraser Health, which was a little bit weird. That's a crazy coincidence. And, when you look into who they were actually issuing scholarships to, we had a health administrator, wood engineering, water science, a woman who was working in wastewater treatment in Delta. It's like, okay, well, what is she doing? And she was working as a career, she was helping out gathering documents and communications at a conference for an Afzal Wasim. I don't even know if she was registered to any school, but she got a student award. And then there was this other gentleman who played football while he was a candidate for an MBA at University of Toronto. I don't know what his, playing football did to gain him a scholarship, but they gave it to him. And then the last one is a dude who works at a power substation in Australia. So you got water, wood, power, healthcare. I don't know what this MBA guy does, but it's an interesting collection of people to give scholarships to, and these people seem to be working with folks who are foreigners abroad. So I'm not sure if the folks at Manulife are targeting people to give scholarships to in a form of bribery, or if they're interested in these specific markets trying to gain favor. Um, all right, we'll move on. The next one was Sarah. So Sarah is claiming to work at Fraser Health Authority as well. Let me open her profile so I can see all the little nitty-gritty details. So she claims she works at Burnaby Hospital. And while she was working at Burnaby Hospital, she was moonlighting at a private practice, which is called Total Therapy Inc. Now, she claims to have graduated from the University of Manitoba, where she was a research assistant. But the strange thing is there are no research publications or articles written while she was doing her postdoctorate degree. Now, I don't know about you, but usually when you're doing a doctorate, you're supposed to come up with a thesis and write papers and defend that thesis. Like you're doing some sort of research in the field that you're practicing in. So if she's in physiotherapy, she would have done some sort of research in the field of physiotherapy. But there's absolutely no articles or publications under her name during the time period she claims to be doing a postdoctorate. So maybe she didn't do the postdoctorate. I can't find any record of her graduating from the Masters of Physical Therapy, but I do see someone with her name writing papers in 2014, between 2012 and 2014, for the Doctor of Philosophy in Neuroscience. So one of the two educations she claims I can validate. I can't validate the second one. Now, Fraser Health claims that they're doing outpatient physiotherapy only to select orthopedic, neurological, and pediatric conditions. So that's why she's self-employed at Champlain Square Physiotherapy. Now, if she's self-employed at a private clinic, why is Fraser Health subsidizing her? She was only paid since 2014 or 2024, and that is only the time where she was working self-employed at her own clinic. They did not employ her or pay her while she was claiming the link to Burnaby Hospital. Right? Suspicious, no? Now, we can see a couple other profiles for people using the same name, right? So one is a graduate from Simon Fraser University in 2020. Again, there's no one who graduated. So this might have been a prospective student profile for someone who dropped out. There was also a woman at the Northwest A&F University in China. She was studying soil erosion. I don't know if that photo looks a little bit like the therapist or not, but she claims to be writing papers the same time the physiotherapist was working at Total Therapy Inc. There is another graduate at the University of Alberta with a Bachelor's of Economics in 2021 from China. That's the only graduate I've found in Canada with her name. And to be fair, I'm only looking at a subset of universities, and I'm leveraging some of the documents I already have for that, but that was the only one I found in the list. Now, she was cited as being at Cardiff University in the UK in 2018 as a, um, I think she was from Singapore or Taiwan, I forget. But she was cited as being an international guest uh, guest lecturer in architectural design engineering. So, did she register with the University of Alberta in 2018? So you can sort of see I've put numbers beside it based on the stories. Like if you follow the person, there's no gaps. You started somebody studying neuroscience up until 2013. Then you have this person who registers at Simon Fraser but does not graduate between 2015 to 2020. Then you have in 2018 someone's in the UK instead. And then in 2021 to 2024, someone's in China writing papers. And then in 2024, they come back and now they're getting paid at a physiotherapy clinic in BC. So it's possible that all of these people are the same. It's possible they're different. It's just a huge coincidence. But it's interesting when the timelines align like that. There's also a dude on you can see on the far right. Did I show the dude on the screen or did I crop him off? No, he is there. Um, he's linked to Brock University, and he was giving talks in Morocco in 2019 on computer engineering. So this is, again, another case is like, okay, well, we think this lady exists as a physiotherapist. It's interesting that the lady's using the same name as him, but it may or may not just be a coincidence. Because whenever we see a computer engineer and then all these other records with computer engineer, it's like, oh, okay, is this manufactured records? The fact that she actually is registered as being at a clinic tells me she's probably a physical person working there. We know she probably has a degree in neuroscience, but we don't know that she was actually educated anywhere in physical therapy, which is a little concerning. Next is Yuan King or Gavin Chen. Gavin also claims to work at Fraser Health Authority since what was it, 2015, but he was first paid in 2020. So this business analyst role he's claiming here was not recognized by Fraser Health. So I don't know what it was. He had two roles. One was business system analyst, one was business analyst, and the business system analyst appears to be the period he wasn't actually there. Before this, he claims to have worked for an insurance company. But the funny thing about his profile is he also claims to be working as a systems analyst all the way back here in 2010. So how did this man, leave and come back and leave and come back? And like, it looks to me like he's got, like in China, he claims to be working at Guangdong, right? Right? Or Guangzhou, Guangdong, China. And then Zhenjiang, Jiangsu, China. It's like almost as if he had two gaps in his employment where he wasn't working and he just filled in his current employer there. So honestly though, if he had a big high paid job at an insurance company or a bank in China, why would he have left those roles? Wouldn't he have been paid more in those roles than in healthcare? And he claims to be at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology in 2009 as a graduate, but again, there's no mention of him in the yearbook at all. So another record like, okay, I'm going to see a pattern of all of these people are lying about their educations. It's going to be one of those, well, I got educated in China and I don't want to redo it, so I'm just going to lie about my education. It's like, yeah, well, there's a reason you can't do that. Think about it high level, right? if there's a program in Canada that's tailored to the tools, technologies, and laws of Canada in those roles, right? So if you studied in China or Singapore or Taiwan, uh, how to do a procedure, the tools here are different. Like I guarantee you, the device you're staring at that you're using is not going to have, you know, Chinese language buttons, and the alignment and positions of the buttons might be different, and how to use it might be different. So it's dangerous to just claim you have an education when you haven't done the training. You could kill people. Or you could get into a situation where you're going to be asked to do a procedure they think you're registered and qualified to do, and that you have no idea how to do. And this might be contributing to our long wait times, right? Like they're trying to avoid managing the backlogs of the things they don't know how to do, so they're dropping patients, ignoring patients, and they're just sitting there lined up trying to get someone who can handle it, but they've employed all these people with fake credentials and none of them can handle it. So that's why, this whole, we start to see in this East Asian trend of lying about your educations is dangerous and is not a good thing for healthcare. So those were the people who claimed links to Fraser Health. Now we're going to look at all the people who do not claim links to Fraser Health. We'll start with the section of private clinics. So Andrea here was a physiotherapist at National Youth Sports. She claims to be working at a clinic called PhysioLife as a kinesiologist. So in her background, she claims she was in Singapore, right? So at UBC, and that she came here and took a Human Kinetics degree at UBC. So the only person who graduated at UBC took a Bachelor of Arts. She did not take kinesiology. She was an international student from Hawaii. So she's transferring herself into Canada from international studies through the US using a Bachelor of Arts degree. She does like she claims she has she supposedly earned this degree in Singapore. That she had background working in this field while she was in Singapore. But we don't know if in Singapore she's actually, done training. We know she has a Bachelor of Arts. What is a Bachelor of Arts student doing giving physiotherapy in Canada? Moreover, she was funding her education in Canada while being paid by Fraser Health Authority since 2019. So she's graduating in 2021 from a 4-year program. She started getting paid in 2019 while she was studying an arts program. So what was she doing for Fraser Health for 3 years while she studied in arts? And why is she working illegally in Canada on a study permit? Next is Anna. So when I looked up Anna, I got a few other people flagged. So the Anna I think that was probably paid by Fraser Health is this another one of these people in a private clinic. She was working as another kinesiologist, right? So she claims she graduated from UBC as well, Human Kinetics. And yes, I can validate that she did graduate um, from UBC's kinesiology program. She graduated with Andrea in the spring of 2021 when Andrea took the arts. But that's when Fraser Health started paying her right out of university. She did not take a bachelor's level, though. She claimed she also had a bachelor's at UBC, but we can only find record of her master's. So we don't know how she qualified to even get into the master's program because she didn't have the bachelor's. So what was she using as the reference to get accepted? There is another Anna Chen working as a clinical pharmacist in Lower Mainland Pharmacy Services. So that's in Langley Township. She first entered Canada in 2013, claiming to also go to UBC. And again, she did not graduate with a Bachelor of Science in 2014, but she did graduate with the pharma degree. So she claims 2 degrees. And again, like the other Anna to the left, she only had half of them. Now, okay, well, she did get certified in pharma, and like the other girl did get certified in kinetics, so it's a little bit better than the Bachelor of Arts lady doing these programs. So we can see she did have training, but they didn't have the prerequisites to enter the programs. They lied to enter to get that degree. They lied. So Anna here was a pharmacy assistant, working at the pharmacy in a pharmacy somewhere without any sort of pharma degree. So she was already a pharma assistant before she even enrolled in pharma. So she's working illegally as a pharmacist without being certified in pharmacy. Also, she claims to be working at UBC while taking a degree she did not graduate from. So she got hired as an administrative assistant at the Department of Psychiatry, and she didn't actually graduate from that. So maybe she claims the degree and to justify working in the Department of Psychology or Psychiatry, I should say. Um, at the bottom, there's 3 ladies who look kind of similar. The first is a physician at the University of Toronto. She was granted or gifted a undergraduate scholarship in 2022 to start her residency. Um, the high school she claims to is kind of sketchy because a Jaspel Gill, funded a 7.5 million renovation on her high school after this school certified that she went to it to get her accepted at Columbia University, which was a little sketchy. And this school seems to fund almost exclusively South and East Asian foreign international students. So why is the Canadian government funding $7.5 million renovations into foreign international high school students? Now this woman looks a little bit like the lady in the middle here and the one on the left. Both of these 2 ladies are linked to the Canadian Securities Institute. So they're taking a certificate degree to let them work in financial investment and trading. Um, one of these 2 Annas is listed as being a client of a bankrupt cryptocurrency company. So in 2025, they were a client. They were notified of the bankruptcy of this crypto company. So good job on that, Canadian Securities. They learned a lot in school, huh? Anyway, moving on. Cancel. Next one. So then we got Daniel. We'll try to bring up Daniel there. Daniel's refusing to be brought up. So then we have Daniel in healthcare, right? So this man claims to be working at Island Health Authority. Again, he's not working at Fraser Health. He's a clinical informatician at a neighboring health agency. This dude claims to be in Coquitlam. He claims he was a co-op student during his time at UBC, but co-op programs in Canada are government subsidized for domestic students, not international students. So he has 3 jobs that he's linked to to gain employment to Island Health that he was not actually supposed to be qualified for. Like he wasn't we weren't supposed to fund him to work in Canada. You're supposed to be funding Canadian students. And we know he's a foreign student because he was in the army in Singapore. And this dude wrote himself a check for working on an AI hackathon project. So we're going, oh God, we've got a technical guy writing his own profiles. There's also, in this top corner, the acupuncturist. So that's why he's under this section. So the one who might have been paid, like the on paper dude who probably got paid could have been either this guy at the wrong health agency or this acupuncturist individual clinic. So this guy on the left here operates under the same name, except he was employed at a herbalist and acupuncturist group. Now, he has no education in Canada. He admits to being an immigrant from Taiwan in 2019. And he was granted a role by the College of Traditional Chinese Medicine in BC to work in Canada as an acupuncturist. Okay, why are we funding Chinese medicine of Chinese peoples in BC? Why don't they just, go to China to take these procedures? I mean, okay, open a local school, teach our local people how to do it if you really, really need these services. But acupuncture to me does not feel like an essential life-saving service. So probably should not have been funded by Fraser Health Authority, right? Immediately below him, we've got a guy making, running a business selling healthcare products. And those products sound kind of sciencey, talk about peptides and all these other good things. But he claims to be doing this since 2019. The guy never did anything in Canada except run his own businesses. He claims to be a graduate of 2002 to Emily Carr Institute of Art. So he might be a Canadian, this one. The other two are definitely not Canadians. At the bottom, we have Daniel Chen. He is a guest lecturer claiming to be American working at UBC since 2022. He's working in data sciences. And all his education's in the US. But he was hired as a guest lecturer, supposedly. Specifically, it was epidemiology and public health, behavioral neuroscience is what his background, psychology, neuroscience, public health. So we know somebody here was paid by Fraser Health in 2025, but which one of these men? They all operate under the same name. They're all in the same region. But none of them looks like they should have been paid by Fraser Health. There's also the oil and energy professional realtor. Some guy is operating, in Richmond, flipping houses. Which one of these guys? All right. Next, there are more Daniels. No, there wasn't just those guys. There are Daniels also working in business. These two guys on the left have almost the same profile. One dude is in China, and one dude claims to be in BC. So is he in BC or is he in China? The guy in China has a photo, so he's probably in China, right? So he claims to be a graduate of the Simon Fraser University in 2011. There were 2 graduates that year, but none were under his name Daniel. So it may not be him, or he might have graduated with a more ethnic alias. But that puts me on I can't confirm you've graduated from where you claimed on this left record. So it looks like the real record is the Chinese record. There's also this other dude who works at Scotiabank doing private banking. Um, he went to a school that has almost all South Asian graduates, and on paper, you read the convocation list, it all looks like Sing, 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 foreigner, Asian, 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 foreign, South American. They're all foreign students. They're either from South America or Asia, and they're largely from Asia and South Asia. So you can see they have a huge problem with nepotistic admissions programs, or it's not even a real program, they're just signing paperwork. Because you're not supposed to enroll every year 200 Singhs and then one of somebody else. Anyway, so that's it for the Daniels. Then we hit Hui. So Hui here is a Singapore nurse. So she claims on her Canadian profile here that she's an RN at an undisclosed hospital in Toronto. She's not even in Toronto. She's getting paid by someone in BC. Um, so the one in China, so we got two here. We've got a Singapore nurse and a Chinese professor of nursing. So the Chinese professor of nursing claims that until sometime before around 2012, she was a head nurse or she started as a head nurse in China. We go over to the Singapore nurse. She claims she's being funded in Singapore between 2016 and 2022, which is the period of time someone was paying for her in Fraser Health, right? So the Singapore nurse says, I'm being funded by Singapore, and somebody's paying her with this name in BC. Is the funding being funneled out of the Fraser Health Authority sent to Singapore? Is that what happened here? Um, there's also a dentist who's linked to UBC via a website that has a dead page. So her profile is no longer on UBC. She looks a little bit like the picture of the Chinese professor of nursing, no? She claims she's a professor at Shandong. She does not claim to be linked to UBC or the dental practice in BC referenced by Lumino Health, which is where she's claiming to work in BC. She claims she was at the University of Montreal, but I can't find any record of her there. There's also someone operating in BC to WFG Securities Inc., which is dealing of mutual funds. And this is the one that most matches the name on the Fraser Authority, if I recall correctly. Yeah, Hui Gloria. So the one we know most of in BC is the mutual fund trader. So in Richmond, we have this article here where a man called Richard Young Shung Chen was facing charges for a scam working with WFG for a person named Brent Y. Kun Chow. So this article was written in 2025. He says it was a Coquitlam resident who was charged with fraud and was being investigated financially. So he claims, he informed WFG he was working for this other dude who was scamming them. So when you start to look at WFG, there's more than just Gloria Chen who works at WFG. There was this dude, there's Amelia, there's Tia, there's Rita, there's Yahoo. It seems to be a family business. And they seem to exclusively be hiring Chens. So this whole business looks like a fraud to me. And this won't be the first time we see investment fraud with a Chen and a Chow. We'll move on for now. We go to Kelvin. Like, I could be spending so much time on some of these guys, but I'm gonna step through them briefly, just to get through them. So Kelvin at the top here, the orthodontist, is not working in BC. He's working in Ontario. He's in Markham. But he looks a lot like this guy in the middle, who's a graduate from the Canadian Chinese College of Traditional Medicine. So we have another one of those acupuncturist guys, certified to work in BC. So he works at a company on Granville Street called At Alive Sports. It claims to be an ICBC designated treatment center. So ICBC is, they're claiming, is that insurance company in BC that, remember, we saw matched the name of the Bank of China, funded, being observed and funded by that JP Morgan guy. So it's an ICBC designated treatment center, but they receive treatments without upfront payments, and they're looking for convenient insurance claim services for car accident victims. I'm sorry, that sounds like fraud right away there. So they're submitting fake claims for car accidents, and you don't have to pay, or they're gonna loan shark you for it afterwards if they can't get, fraudulent funding for fake insurance claims. So there are two Calvins licensed, and they're both in California. One of them is in San Gabriel Valley, and the other one was, where does it say? Alhambra, right here. And they're both private. I guess they're general practitioners, like family doctors, basically. So okay, I'm like, this is sketchy. When I continued to look into this guy, I found more people that kind of look like him. I found this senior manager at a tech company. So he was, he formed his own company on graduation, apparently. And he worked as a foreign recruiter. He came from Vietnam. Uh, we've got a mortgage agent who claims to graduate from Simon Fraser. And again, no one graduated with this name. There were two others in the degree he's claiming. So if he wasn't one of those two, then he lied about his education as well. There's a guy working at a warehouse in Coquitlam. There's also another one in construction. Lastly, there's this dude claiming to be employed with the Department of Justice, which was sketchy enough in and of itself. He worked as a customer service rep at BMO, supposedly, as an international student who has not yet graduated. Why is he working at the government of Canada and BMO? Like, we have a lot of people who want these fluffy business roles. We don't need international students for them. So, again, like I said, four of these men kind of look the same. And this mortgage agent kind of looks like the same, might be the same dude with the shaved head. Hard to say. So it's like, are they offering like the same profiles for this guy, or are they just coincidentally very similar looking? Anyway, moving on. Next we have Sophie. So Sophie's a case that really triggers me. Sophie is a pharmacy manager, right? She worked in pharmacy. She was hired upon graduation from the University of British Columbia. After 2 months, she was hired after 2 months after graduation. So she's an international student. She needs to get a work permit, right? So how did she get a work permit in Canada? We can see here, this is her graduating class list. Her name here is highlighted in green. She was the only one who was explicitly studying from Taiwan, like from a foreign country. Why is we have a class of 250 graduates. How does this employer justify hiring the only foreign student? There's no need to hire foreign students if you've got 249 other pupils of this class alone. This is only this school's same graduation. So there are more than 249. It's just this particular business had no justification to hire a foreign employee and issue a work permit to a foreign employee when there were 249 other graduates in this program. That employer could have hired any one of those other peoples. So is this racism of the business owner or familial nepotism? Who was the moron who issued her a work permit? Moving on. Next we have Sabina. Sabina Tingzhu was paid since 2020. So we've got a few people here. Like this lady was a little bit hard to figure out. So we have the only person we've seen in Canada is on the people in Canada are on the right here. So we have this lady on social media who stepped through Burnaby, BC on her way to Taiwan. And she claims to be living in Taiwan. And she was possibly a student in Taiwan researching the environment. So air quality specifically. Below her is a Sabrina Chen, who operates at an integrated pharmacy in BC. So most likely, like her profile seems to be the one you'd pay, right? She's working at a private clinic. And she claims to have graduated in human physiology at the University of Toronto. But again, she has no articles mentioning her as being a student in the time that she claims to be there, which would have been the 90s, right? So if you see her immediately right beside, that's her profile. So she claims to be working at Palmer College and the University of Toronto, and I can find no papers for her time here. Now she claims she's been at 3 different clinics as well, from between the period of 2001 and today. This profile in the middle seems to be old because it doesn't mention where she's working today. It's like whoever maintained this page after 2010 dropped the page. So what happened to that Sabrina Chen? And why did she no longer need this web page after 2010? So we see she has a relative here, a Shireen, who does kind of look like these other people. This other Sabina. Shireen claims to be a managing editor for the Canadian Journal of Music Therapists or Pharmacists before that. Right? So she's working on Canadian journals, submitting articles. So she seems to have shown up relatively recently. Like she does claim to be in Toronto in 2002, but she's working on a bunch of different things. Like she doesn't claim a single employer. She's working at freelance, and then these two organizations. So she's just a lady online writing articles, basically. And like I said, the Sabine on social media looks more like Shireen than she does like this Dr. Sabrina. Now, if we go to California, somebody used the name Sabina Chen to sue someone over intellectual property. And the lawyer who represented her does intellectual property regulation and compliance. So we don't know who she was suing in California, but if we go look in the United States, there's another person operating under this name in Texas. And this woman comes also from Taiwan. She claims she studied at a National Chiao Tung University there until 2011. And then she came to Texas in 2014. And then she became a marketing consultant after her time at university there. We can also see in 2015, um, somebody is on the executive committee with this name of the Hotei Motor Company in Taiwan. So we can definitely see a few links to Taiwan on this profile. 3 links to Taiwan with this name. And 2 of the ladies are doing research, and one of the dude is an on the executive board and financial auditor. Again, none of these people look like they might have been paid by Fraser Health. And the woman here, Sabrina, doesn't even use the name Sabina. She's Sabrina Chen Si. Next, we got Yun Ting. So another case of a potentially private clinic. This lady's an optometrist. Um, so Christina here, where'd her link go? Someone got rid of that on my files missing on her again. Some of my files keep disappearing. What's this turn? Oh, it's because it's under a different label. So she has two monikers. She's got Christina and Yun Tang. 2 aliases, whatever. Okay, so here we can see two women, both optometrists, both working in Canada under the same name. One explicitly calls herself Yun Tang, and the other one does not. At the top, she claims to be a graduate from University of Toronto and taken training at University of Bradford. The one below claims to be University of Waterloo. Now I can't find um, anybody at either school. In 2022, I see a Sue Shan, not a Young Ting and not a Christina, but there's a Sue Shan in 2022. I can see that the University of Waterloo has specified a profile for this lady, the one on the bottom. I can also see that she was hired while another Chen was an assistant professor in the optometry department. So did he hire a relative who, nepotistically? I could not find her convocation list or any record of her graduating before 20 before being at the school in 2022. Like I said, the school webpage claims she was working as a resident of the department. Nobody claims she graduated from the school. So how was she hired as a resident without any record of her graduation? And again, how did she get a doctorate without any, like before 2021, there's no record of her. So what was she doing before 2021? She wasn't writing articles. She wasn't working with anybody. She wasn't in any school groups. Nothing. So is this professor being used as a fake reference? Did he hire someone who wasn't supposed to be hired? And did he just train her himself and then have her fake credentials? Like what happened? Um, on the left here, we have a automation systems designer in pharma and medical devices. So another lady claims to have gone to University of Waterloo. Um, she claims to have a degree, or when she was studying mechanical engineering, when the optometrist was studying um, minor in biology and psychology. But again, we have someone studying a master's degree who didn't publish any thesis. So this lady also has confusing, unverified, um, you know, educational background. Again, so did they put the wrong year? Did they put the wrong program? Are they over exaggerating, or are they actually educated abroad and they're just using a local school name? We don't know. We all it looks like to us is you lied about your education. So I can see there's cancer research under this name in 2022 in Taiwan. So who's doing cancer research in Taiwan? Is it one of these three ladies? All right. So, there's a common pattern, right? Researchers. Let's move into the Chinese researchers. Now we have people who aren't even linked to health services. So we started the closest to Fraser Health. These are the guys who actually supposedly worked at the hospital. And we stepped back to people working at health clinics in the Vancouver, BC area, and other people around them using the name, doing other things. Now we're going to step back even further. We don't even have people employed in health professionals. They're just doing research and submitting to sort of Chinese publications. So Chen Li here, there was an article issued in 2014 stating that Chen Li had purchased a bug zoo. So they had a building that had a bunch of rare bugs, living bugs, and then they were letting people come in and see them. So some Chinese researcher wanted access to these rare and exotic bugs. So they purchased this bug zoo in Victoria. What are they doing with the bugs? Like, anyone else concerned about what they might be doing with those bugs? Let's keep going. So, what do they study? Well, they're studying subarachnoid hemorrhages, yada yada yada, headache loss. So medical conditions, um, and certain treatments of those conditions. So when I looked into them, it looks like Chun-Li participates in studying bird flu, water studies, um, illnesses, and disease. So she's submitting papers in China and under the specific university here. It says the Department of Neurology, Zhangya Hospital of Central South University, Changsha. So that's where I found the link to this person. So what is a researcher doing research with bugs purchased in Canada, working on bird flu for? Does anyone else feel concerned about our massive bird flu spreads and whether or not this lady might have something to do with it? Or is this even a lady? Is it a dude? Because there's no photo associated with this profile. So this person's been paid for a very long time, since 2016. Who's paying this person and for what? Why are we paying a Chinese researcher? Why are we funding Chinese research in Canada? Now we have two more. We have Zhao Wei and Manxia. So Zhao Wei, it was also paid since 2016. Um, she is also a famous cancer researcher, except she's working out of the United States right now. They claim she was a guest lecturer who originated in Singapore. She went to the UK and she was working on the board of a foundational trust fund, like they were funding the hospitals as soon as they merged. So they merged in 2017 and started rebranding and started working with Hitachi in the US, who was being led by Indian Raj Jain. So during this time, they were completely defunded. Like they lost all their funding, they spent too much money, the hospital wait time skyrocketing, everything went wrong. So what were they doing, except for stripping funding out of this hospital? And why is this woman now associated with Fraser Health? Like she's already defunded the UK hospital. What is she doing in the Canadian hospitals network? Or she was definitely there while they were being defunded. The other one, Manchia, was an agricultural researcher. She was linked to a defunct page claiming she was participating with the Canadian Journal of Soil Science. So I couldn't find what she was supposedly researching. High level, it's just crop yields. Like the dead link claimed she was working on something to do with crop yields. So is she studying in Canada to submit to foreign Chinese, research organizations? Why are we funding these two women? What kind of special research are they doing for our particular healthcare system? Next is Kiao. Um, Again, we've got another foreign researcher, right? Except this one has a few more complicated ties to her. So Kiao was paid since 2024 by Fraser Health. We know she publicly lists that she owns this huge six bedroom house in Richmond, or at least at one point. And she may have been using the money to purchase this house or to fund a postdoctorate education at UBC. So the department is mechanical engineering, right? It's not even healthcare. It's mechanical engineering. And we start to go, well, okay, well, what is she doing? She was a postdoctorate fellow, um, working in artificial intelligence research. She came to Canada by working for a company called Live Barn. Now, Live Barn does amateur sports streaming. What is an amateur sports streaming person have to do with energy and mechanical engineering if you're just streaming, people playing sports? So the name of the CEO founder of LiveBarn right there is Farrell Miller. She got illegally, I guess, migrated through this dude. And this dude supports Singapore, Colombia, Dubai, as well as the United States and London. So the UK. Um, there's also two Jocelyn's working at UBC. The other one claims to be in the provost office as a senior consultant since 2018. So, is this some sort of bribe to the provost department at UBC so that she'll let your relatives get educated or issue certificates they aren't qualified for? Is she like signing, Is she giving references out? Like, what is she doing? The other one here, there's this third Jocelyn Q is at Texas University. She kind of looks like the provost lady. So that's a PhD candidate in Austin, Texas, back in 2024. So if she was paid since 2024, and this lady was only, this lady was in, you know, Texas until 2024. Did she come after 2024? The other energy sciences lady coming through the sketchy sports company, well, she is still there. She's still studying. So in Ottawa, there's another man called Li Chen who's working with fisheries. In China, the researcher is linked to the chemical industrial engineering. So we've got chemical, we've got what's this one? Data science, we've got energy, we've got computing, and we got fish. Variety of different studies, but it's all relatively, people studying. Then we got C. These aren't even the more interesting ones. We'll get to some of the funnier ones towards the end to wake you up. All right. So C was paid by Fraser Health since 2024. Now, there is a realtor flipping properties in her name, and she's submitting public complaints about a specific local cannabis businesses around some of the properties she's been selling. There's also a C with a pharmacist degree. So we have two certifications in BC. One is a pharmacist and one is a realtor. If you look at this lady, this realtor, she looks a little bit like this woman who works for US FDA. So there's a woman working for the FDA, the American Food and Drug Administration Board. Where is it? Arkansas? Yeah, Arkansas. She claims she did a postdoctorate, but she doesn't claim where it was from. Now, there was a C submitting articles in 2014, the same period this lady claims to be doing a postdoctorate with UBC. But the only graduate I can find at UBC around 2014 is this lady who graduated in 2017 from a journalism program. And it's funny, they're both wearing black and white striped shirts. And look a little bit similar, don't they? Except, this one's wearing big glasses and one's wearing smaller glasses. So, what is a journalism student? On the journalism program, they said she was an international student from Wuhan, China. So, this journalism student went to the United States, and then she claimed she was doing a doctorate while she was really doing a journalism program. And then she claims in the gap, her other real education is a biochemistry degree from Nankai. So what? She took journalism because she didn't want to do biochem again. I don't think you're technically allowed to do that. There's also a business student who's now at UBC. She graduated in 2024 from accounting, so I can verify uh, she did graduate from where she was claiming. She claims to come from Singapore, or she went back out to Singapore. So this lady, this C. Stella Chen, was a business student who left in 2024 to go back to Singapore. And now we have this lady who's working as a realtor and a pharmacist being paid since 2024 with the name of this FDA lady from the US. There's also a male researcher in Slovakia and a computing student at SFU who graduated in 2022 in computing. So to me, it looks like whoever's getting paid might be committing identity fraud using the ID potentially of this, this lady who had a study permit who may not have a work permit in Canada. So she's probably, whoever's doing the realting and pharmacy may not have a work permit to be in Canada. So then we have Vera. Vera is kind of an interesting story. So Vera claims. Let me just close off some of these. I got too many windows. Okay. Vera has this article listed in her name. It says she claims that this Vancouver private high school faces criticism after losing a certificate. So she registered at a school called Vancouver International College. She claimed it offered English as a second language course as well as classes in the BC school curriculum. But the certificate was not renewed because it didn't meet the requirements. So basically, they weren't up to code. They weren't going through the government immigration. They weren't doing something properly. So certain students were abandoned in Canada trying to figure out what they were supposed to do, claiming they were losing money due to fraud. So Vera here claims she was 17 years old traveling from China by herself, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, and she paid $30,000 in tuition. What do I do? What do I do? Well, it looks like they moved her to Fredericton. And she got picked up by the University of New Brunswick as an undergraduate student. And she was issued, like, oh yeah, she came in from Fredericton High School. So also, while this is going on, somebody in BC was pretending to be working in the government as a policy analyst in Victoria, working on construction standards and digital solutions. So Jen Rue here is a student at the University of Irvine in California, working in chemical and material physics. She graduated in 2018. Her previous education was in Taiwan between 2000 and 2006. Now, this Jen Rue has authored multiple different papers. And we have her picture in the bottom corner there. She kind of looks like Vera, the poor sad little high school 17-year-old who was not 17. She's actually today she's pushing 44. So today this lady claims to be working in Texas. But there's also a student working at UNB, the University of New Brunswick. So are these two different people? Or is this lady maintaining two identities, one north of the border, one south of the border? Did the Canadian and the American switch? Did the Canadian move down, who was working in construction standards and digital solutions, move down to the US? This lady doesn't claim any connection to the Canadian BC government. So who was working in BC construction standards then? Was it this poor, sad little 17-year-old high school student? Or was it the woman working in Texas? Okay, now we got Victor. Whoops. I'm just going to bring up mine. I keep playing with my windows in the background. So Victor has this interesting mess of people who look like Victor. So we got all these profiles here. Let me back it up and explain the story. So in 2004, a Taiwanese researcher claims to be guest lecturing at Wisconsin. You can see his photo in the bottom right corner. Um, a company in BC is created in his name, but dissolves in 2005, but gets reopened again in 2006. It appears to be some sort of housing property, like a rental or a mortgage scam. One of those defunct number companies linked to a individual residential property. So that's opened while he's guest lecturing, or just after he started guest lecturing in Wisconsin. In 2011, he's at Simon Fraser. During this time, he's claiming to work for the Canadian government as an economic officer for Asia Pacific Gateway. Whatever that means. Is he doing trade? Is he doing consulting, advisory? Not sure. But he claims, the profile claims he was working for the government. Um, the SSHRC claims that the government was funding him to take studies at Simon Fraser. Well, he was also teaching business courses. So there is a Government of Canada webpage saying, yeah, we know about this Victor dude. Someone put up this government webpage claiming we know who this dude is, and we paid for him to study here. Okay, well, what the hell was he doing that was so important that you were paying for his education here? So he leaves, right? He leaves. So between 2012 and 2022, he went to the University of North Carolina. He didn't even stay in Canada. He took that degree and he went and jumped to the US. So we paid for something and he just left us. Then he dies in 2017. He got buried in Forest Lawn Memorial Park. That's in Scarborough, right? It's somewhere in Toronto, isn't it? So the dude's dead. Then a student comes in claiming to have started working in BC. That's where we get to BC. So the government dude is dead, and now a student's in BC. And this dude kind of looks like him, but a younger version of him. So, and in 2018, someone claiming the ID also claims to be working in New York for the Columbia Center for Sustainable Investment. This dude claims, yeah, I'm now working at University of North Carolina. Okay, well, for the 7 years before that, he was claiming he was working at, at the Columbia Center for 7 years before that, right? So he moves from Columbia Center to the University of North Carolina. Okay. So then we see the student from SFU graduate in 2020 for computer science. And then in 2021, after he graduates, someone's paid by Fraser Health. In 2022, after this dude starts getting paid by Fraser Health, the man working with the ID in the US goes to Fidelity Investments. Then the student claims to be employed at a company in Vancouver, OSI Maritime. And then in 2025, someone uses this guy's the dead guy's alias to open a realtor's license. So is the government official guy dead or not? Is he dead or is someone using his ID? Like there is another dude I found over here at the very left at Create Music Group. He had a degree that didn't exist. So he claimed to graduate from UBC. No, he did not. Whoever this guy is at Create Music Group who worked at KPMG, that dude did not graduate. He spent 2 years as an senior accountant auditor at KPMG, and he didn't have an education in Canada. So that guy was concerning too. So you're sort of seeing like the trend of, oh my god, none of these people look real. Ooh, this is a good one. Marina. She is a financial auditor. Except, she's also studying, and getting paid while studying. So she claims to be a biomedical engineering student at UBC. She's still there. She hasn't graduated yet. She's in her third year. But she's also linked to the baby center of McMaster University. So is she what, donating babies? Did she have a kid she dumped on the university? What does the baby lab do? So she claims to be an undergraduate research student at McMaster. Well, she also claims to be an undergraduate research student at UBC. So which is it? Okay. So in BC, there was an article posted in 2020 claiming the BC shut down their auditor general in the local government. They fired all of their local auditors for corruption or fraud or downsizing. They weren't very clear, but they shut down the auditors in 2020. Marina was listed as being an auditor in BC. So whoever this Marina was, she used to be doing auditing in the local government. She might have something to do with why they got shut down. Um, AI and Google search tells me, well, they shut down operations in 2021. So up to 2021, this woman was doing auditing. Well, this student claims to be in high school. Okay. We can see in 2011, a Marina Chen uh, took $7,500 from the BC government for travel expenses, while not an appointed a public service. So she spent $7,500 for travel fees that she was not qualified to gain from the BC government while she was working as an auditor. So she was an auditor sometime between 2011 and 2021. Then suddenly this girl shows up claiming, I'm a new grad. I'm a high school student. I'm totally just trying to go to university now and pay for university in Canada. But I have a baby, and I also have a baby in the baby lab there. It's like, okay. So what? She was paid since 2024 by Fraser Authority. What is she? Is she holding the audit records hostage? Is it blackmail? Like, why is this lady getting paid? Now we got Wayne. So Wayne here was paid since 2024. Same thing. He was an auditor. He was listed as being an auditor for two different offices, Vancouver and Kamloops. Exact same thing as Marina. So who is this guy? When you go look for profiles, nobody claims to be an auditor for the BC government. But we do see a bunch of guys that all kind of look the same. Like almost identical. Of the four of them, I can only validate the one here in the green box. The one who's a senior software engineer at Macro Health. This man claims to have graduated with a computer science degree from Simon Fraser University, and yes, I can see him on the list for fall 2011. He claims he got a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering, but no, he had a Bachelor of Applied Science, um, and not not Bachelor of Science in 2006 from UBC. So his education is kind of verifiable, though he mislabels his first degree. So what I'm going to ask is, if the guy had an electrical engineering degree, why did he go back and take computer science? Um, and UBC itself didn't offer electrical engineering. It only had civil, mechanical, or geological. Um, that's why he had applied science, not Bachelor of Science. He took a different stream. So he wasn't in an engineering program. He was in an applied science program. Um, so this guy looks very similar to the 60-year-old, very young-looking 60-year-old researcher claiming to work at University of Calgary. So someone with the face of this computer science guy is working as professor at the University of Calgary. And he's a researcher who came from China, claiming a degree at Western. So is this guy impersonating the researcher's identity? Or is this guy, making money, guest lecturing at a school and pretending to be some other person? So this dude, he got issued a, scholarship from a Certified Management Accounting Society of BC. So some accountant society of which this auditor might have been working for paid him a $2,000 scholarship. Did he sign it himself? Was he the accountant who signed the $2,000 scholarship by stealing it from his employer? We'll never know, will we? Okay, so if we step in, the guy won over, claims to be, I guess, a consulting agency. Someone running their own consulting firm and I guess he does entertainment and he claims to be a creative director. So this guy claims he used to work at Electronic Arts, and then after that he went into cryptocurrency, and then was working with film students. So it's a very interesting background there. This man claims to graduate from BCIT at the School of Business and Media. Now, this label was not applied to the school in 2017 when he claims to have this degree. The closest I can find is a Media Techniques for Business certificate, which had only 3 people registered. Um, so is he just applying the modern label for the school? Or is he actually, lying about that certificate based on his current knowledge of the school? Um, The last one on the side here is a mortgage investor. So we have two financial guys besides the guy we can kind of validate, the computer scientist. First guy is doing digital media and blockchain cryptocurrency. The one other guy's mortgage investment. Now this guy claims to have graduated with a Master of Finance at Beadle School of Business. Nope. Nope. He claims to have a Bachelor of Business Administration from Simon Fraser in 2020. Well, somebody else graduated with a different alias. Not, it was a Wei Zhan. This computer science guy was graduating as Wei Feng. Zoom in, okay, closer. Wei Fang. So the computer guy was going with the alias Wei Fang. The mortgage investor was using the either Wei Zhan or claiming someone else's degree. So this guy might be a different guy. They might all be using a similar ID because they all look very similar, or it might just be, an ethnicity. They're all coming from the same background. But all of them kind of touch finances. This Wayne Chen, the computer guy, is working in healthcare. The lecturer claims to be lecturing in health. And the financial guy claims to own his own business and advise in fintech and cryptocurrency. And then the last guy is the mortgage investor. So we had an auditor, we had a guy who was paid by a financial accountant society to go to school, a cryptocurrency dude, and a mortgage investor. And like I said, someone was being paid by Fraser Authority since 2024, and somebody used to be an auditor for the government of BC. So is this another case of blackmail? Like, I won't, spill the goods. Ha! Well, it went to public audit. Sorry, guys. All right, all right. Let's get this thing rolling. There's still quite a few to go. Next one is Maggie. Oh boy. Okay, Maggie. So Maggie here works as at I guess in import export and distribution. So there are two that claim to be in British Columbia, one in Port Coquitlam and one in working with BC Ferries. Now, the two Baggies have no overlaps in the resume in time, right? So from 2014 to 2015, they're both in China. From 2016 to 2017, one claims to be at ISS in BC. I don't know what ISS is, but she claims to be working as a receptionist illegally in Coquitlam. Then in 2017 to 2019, she somehow got a study permit to go to Douglas College, where she took a certificate in accounting to justify her, reception work. Mm-hmm. Then she works at two very sketchy financial firms. The first is T.C. Wong, and the next is Rossetti Zhang. So she was administrative assistant for a T.C. Wong and Company. Now, when I background checked T.C. Wong is a director of a foreign company that registers global dentists. So a FDI World Dental Federation. This lady jokingly looks a lot like Mary Olivia Chow, but more seriously looks almost identical to a realtor operating in Ontario. What about the other employer, Rossetti Zhang? Well, Rossetti started working in Canada as an accountant in 2013 in Richmond for a Walter Tong. And then she basically somehow moves through a metal product company in Surrey and then has her own corp. So I don't know what she was doing at the metal company that earned her enough money to skim off to make her own corporation, but she supposedly did that. That lady graduated in where was it? Tianjin. That's China, or is it? Let me just quickly look that up. I didn't label where it was from. Ow. It's in China, yeah. So she came right out of China, degree from China, worked in China, and then suddenly got hired as an accountant for a Walter Tong in BC. You, you can't just do that. You need to actually have a permit to work in Canada. So one of the Maggie Chen's, distributors, worked for a woman who took her name and became a realtor. One of the Maggie Chen's, afterwards she rebranded and worked at BC Ferries. She claims to work at PwC in the automotive sector. In BC, in Beijing. So this lady claims that she was working at PwC in Beijing. Well, she was studying at Simon Fraser University, which, by the way, she didn't graduate Simon Fraser University. She was not on any convocation list. I don't have access to New York University's master's records, but I can tell you she definitely didn't have the undergraduate. And this is another person claiming a link to ICBC, which we know is the name of a Chinese bank. So this lady looks super sketchy, doesn't she? And what the hell is she a project manager for at BC Ferries? We know BC Ferries has had a lot of problems, hasn't it, lately? So who knows why they're paying or what's going on at BC Ferries, but something sketchy's going down there. There's also this, as an aside, a Bitcoin or a BitCurrency blockchain investor on this side who's been through a variety of different regions, the US, Canada, and Singapore. She looks kind of sketchy and fake too. But again, she has no education in Canada. She claims to be a product marketing at Microsoft in Toronto as an internship. She took an internship at Microsoft in Toronto illegally while she was at Western. She claims she was at Western. So international students again aren't supposed to get internships in Canada. It's only for the domestic students. So they're applying to intern and co-op jobs illegally, trying to get funding from the government illegally. Next we have a realtor. Shoot. So that's another one of these patterns we've seen. We've seen quite a few people with realtors degrees, have we not? So now we seem to be diving into the investments. Like we've gone through the researchers, we've got the import export lady. Now let's deep dive into investors. So these people have no health experience, no reason whatsoever to be paid by a health organization. These guys are all just investors and investment peoples. And this guy does have a name associated with Chinese research papers. Again, one of them was about the COVID pandemic in the Middle East. But for the most part, Canada knows this dude because he's complaining about property. Like he claims he's a property owner in Burnaby. And he's opposing the BC Housing and Fraser Health to build 40 supportive units. So the dude's paid by Fraser Health, and then he submitted this document in 2025 rejecting the building of housing units. A project by Fraser Health. So he was paid by Fraser Health to reject the project at Fraser Health. What? So what I want, okay, he's claiming he lives at 5355 Lane St. Burnaby. Great. So when I looked up the Chens, there is a realtor called David Chen selling properties in that building. We've got a realtor flipper. He's going by the name David. David here works for Stillhaven, but previously worked for himself. So when I look up his LinkedIn profile here, he was educated in China and then immediately came to Canada and was working as a realtor before he was even educated in China. He claims he was a realtor at Remax Crest Realty Westside since 2010, but his education is between 2015 and 2016 in China. Well, he was operating his own real estate company. Like his own profile, I'm like, I'm confused. What do you? Okay, well, you look like you were illegally working in Canada. And then he's hired at Stillhaven in 2019. So he was only paid for in 1 year, 2025, by Fraser Health, the same year he was complaining about the property. So he was doing something probably with the BC Housing and Fraser Health. So some proposed project. It says it's a supportive housing and complex care housing project. And it was just down the street or around the corner from where this other condo he was trying to sell was at. Oh boy. But like I said, so abroad, there's a few different shoes operating abroad. There's a dude studying ice sheets in Kansas, someone who had a bankrupt business in the Virgin Islands, someone who had an IT consulting firm in China, and we have this dude who came from Taiwan and was funding the Taiwan Mandarin Learning Center in Burnaby. Again, it looks like an investor who primarily deals in real estate flipping in Canada, and we don't need realtors from foreign countries to be flipping our properties in Canada. So honestly, I don't understand why anyone lets these people continue to practice real estate in Canada. So here's the next one. Stella. She's a financial advisor at a mining company. What was her alias? It was Zhu Hong. Zhu Hong. Let me open that file. All right. So Stella claims to be the CEO claimed she was the CFO of a company called Aton Resources. She claims she graduated at Simon Fraser in 2017. Nope, she did not. She claims she also graduated with a diploma in accounting from UBC. Nope, she did not. She was paid by Fraser Health since 2018. So after this supposed, first degree at Simon Fraser. So there is another Stella, like a dead LinkedIn profile for someone who was at Simon Fraser, we know she didn't graduate with economics, but there's a student who never graduated from translations and language studies. Was that her real profile? Before she, made it fit, she upscaled it and made it shinier. There's also another girl that kind of looks like her that might explain how she got to Canada. So this woman was in China until 92. Um, she was working at Nankai, or no, she was studying at Nankai University Economics. She claims that in 2002 she took a degree at Concordia University. Nope. There was only one person, that's Montreal, by the way. There was only one Chen who graduated from Concordia, and it was international business. And I don't know if it looks like her or not, but that's who it was down here at the bottom. It was international business, not commerce, not accounting. It was international business. That's her picture. We found her in the yearbook. That's who she looks like. It kind of, I suppose, sort of looks like Stella on the left, and it kind of looks like Stella here above her, who was in Quebec, who claims to be in Quebec. So this lady was working in China for SDP Telecom. She came to Montreal as part of Molex Canada. Molex was acquired SDB where she was working in China. So after her company was acquired, somehow she moved to Canada through the business. You can't do that. You're supposed to get a permit to do that. Now, it's possible she was issued a work transfer, but we know she transferred through this particular business role. So this business was her sponsor, if it was legit. So she worked at Molex, and Molex used to be a resource mining, and she claims that she started there in 2015 and she left there in 2024. So this Stella over here is basically operating around BC since 2013. Is that where Molex was doing resourcing? Let's see if I can quickly look that up. So Molex is claiming to actually be electronic components. Like connectors, splitter cables. So they're making cables. So, okay, so she claims to be working at a telecom company to one that makes actually cables. So did she, and Molex, the maker of the cables, acquired the telecom company, which is interesting. Usually it's the other way around, right? The telecom company, will source the materials companies. So that seems a little bit odd. But anyway, so the miner lady who's operating in BC looks like this lady who claims to be in Montreal or Quebec, who claims she's still in Quebec. So is she using the other lady's, but she was paid using the name of the Quebec woman, the Quebec woman's alias. So were you paying the telecom company lady, or were you paying the mining company financial officer? Were you investing with the mining company or a telecom company here? And again, like I said, the she may be graduated if she's this Yu lady, but Zue Hong is not you, so she changed her moniker then. Her alias has changed. There's another Zue Huang who's working in Singapore at JP Morgan. That's an investment company. It's a private bank, right? And like I said, when I looked up the graduates at UBC accounting, there were only two people. One girl graduated in business admin. Her name was Mei Ying, who kind of looks like Stella. So she was going by yet another um, alias. So the mining lady seems like she might have been going by Mei Yang, while the telecom company might have been going by Zui Huang. But the only one in BC is the miner, right? So the reason I've linked them is because the mining company executive is the one in BC. The name being paid is the one in Quebec, and the person who graduated has a different alias than the one being paid, which with the name in Quebec. So I've linked them all. And like I said, it's also the Singapore banker. There's a few articles written in forestry and computing as well in China. So, like I said, we have a minor lady and someone submitting articles in game computing and forestry. We got one left. Bear with me. This guy was the most hilarious. This guy's name was uh, Ying. So this guy is also another realtor, right? So whoever he is, we've got. Actually, no, this is lady. There was supposed to be one after this. Where's the one after this? I'm gonna have to. Okay, well, we'll fix that. Oh, we'll do that. Whatever. We'll fix that. We'll do her first. So Ying. Ying is a lady who claims to be the CEO of an AI tech company who's operating a mining investment firm in BC. She has a realtor's license in BC. Now, the company that she claims to have been working with, Anthill Resources, before, is gone. It claims it used to be in the Guinness Tower in Vancouver. It's got a defunct page. It's not there. Now they're linked to being in a cheaper looking building over just down the street. Um, but essentially, yeah, she's like she's moving her offices around and she's trying to like right now she's the CEO for an AI tech company called Ally Gaming and Entertainment. It's a subsidiary called Allied Sports. So I can't find a profile for her really, but there are two other women and one other man that's operating under this name. So Ying was paid by Fraser Health since 2023, and there are two Yings who graduated from UBC with masters in 2023. One is a chemist who's operating in Coquitlam. There's no employment profile, just seems to be a chemist. So hasn't been hired yet, maybe. I don't know. Or they're doing research silently. Then the other one is a Taiwanese woman who studied library sciences and UX design. She claims she worked at Microsoft and BC. So I can verify that she has a degree at the University of BC. She doesn't seem to have the prerequisites listed because the two degrees she has before that, they're overlapping. How did she complete one while she was doing the other? One was in Taiwan, one was in Germany. How could she be in both places at once? You know, there's this other lady, Ying Ying Aditi Chen, um, who, claims a educate employment gap between 2012 and 2014. Well, the one at Microsoft is working on her studies at Fujian. Then after that, after the 2 years, she claims to be at Shoe Architects instead at the period where she claims to be in Germany. So she's working on architectural design. Now, She claims she was working as a front-end developer. They're both kind of working in design, UX and UX design. As this one's on as a front-end developer for a place called AppWorks School in Taiwan. So what that page does is it seems to be a technical recruiter focusing on engineers in Taiwan. Then she gets hired as an architect. Like she's doing designs as an intermediate designer for an architect. So she's designing buildings. Then she was a freelance front end developer. She's still doing freelancing, she claims, remotely. For whom? So these two ladies don't sort of disagree with each other on the profiles except for the employers they're working on. So well, this lady, like she claims to be doing freelancing between 2022 and now. Between 2022 and now, this first lady left school and was working as a researcher on a bunch of different things. And notice it says UX researcher at Microsoft Aditi Consulting. This lady is Yin Aditi Chen. So why does she have two different profiles? One says, well, my only education is in Taiwan. The other one says, well, I've got a master's in BC. And yeah, someone did graduate with a master's in BC. Except she took that master's after a 10-year, oh, sorry, a 7-year gap when she was after a Bachelor of Architecture and a failed start to an English language and literature degree. Like in her own profile, she goes, I describe myself as a self-motivated, constant learner with humanistic care. I am also an MLIS student at UBC's iSchool. UBC doesn't have an iSchool. It's not called an iSchool. It's a polytechnical vocational school. The BCIOT is a polytechnic vocational school. She went to University of British Columbia at a Master of Information Studies. It's not an iSchool. Like, what the fuck is an iSchool? She went to a university. She's calling it a master's student at an information school. What is an information school? So, I can see she definitely bombed out of English language and literature. Anyway, as an aside, the man, there's this dude working in electronical information and technology, so electromagnetics and microwaves. But, he claims to graduate at Simon Fraser, but the only one who graduated was business communications, again, not a technical degree. There's the other dude who graduated from chemistry. All right, and then the last one, which I'm gonna have to swap this up, was what was his name? What was his name? It was Ting Yuan. Ting Yuan. Let's see if I can do this without driving myself insane. Ting Yuan Tom. Ting Yuan Tom. Ting Yuan Tom. All right. So Ting Yuan here was hilarious. He was probably one of the most hilarious. Let's see if I can make this bigger so you can sort of see better. We'll just move it around, hopefully, if it lets me. So Ting Yuan, in this top left corner, worked in construction between 2007 and 2012. In 2018, he graduates from BCIT as an international student. That same year, he attends a conference in Kamloops on air quality with his wife, Anna Huang. Then in 2022, he claims to be an environmental health officer at Northern Health. However, Anna Huang is the one with that actual role. He's using his wife's credentials. So we know, he was, interfering with a zoning policy in Fraser Fort George. So he was submitting articles using his wife's credentials to try and get in the way of the building of something here. This zoning change. So he's using the alias of June, but it's Tom, right? And there is another June in China who's like working in healthcare. He was at the Air Force Medical University, so he's got some possible military and medical links to research in China. Before maybe he came to Canada and was working in construction. Or maybe these are two separate guys, who knows? So when I tried to look back, well, what is this guy operating on if he's not the health inspector? It's his wife. Well, I found four profiles, right? Now the four profiles, the first two didn't have claimed an education they didn't have. So first is Tom Chen claiming to work in city government of Coquitlam. So he works for the city of Coquitlam. He didn't graduate. He has no education. That seems about right, right? It's a public official who has no degree and has no qualification to be a public official. He's a project delivery lead. What the hell is he leading? This sounds like a guy who might want to interfere with zoning policy, right? The second guy is Thomas Chen. He is a security analyst. Where was he working? For fuck's sake. It's not giving me the record. I'm trying to see the bigger version so I can read it. Come on, open, open, open. Okay, yeah, the reason I don't remember is because it's nowhere important. Some place called Upwork in Vancouver. And then One Forma, where he's doing freelancing work. And then in-campus security analyst at a fitness factory application. Don't know what any of those things are. So that dude claimed a degree at University of Alberta in computer science, but they don't have a computer science program. They only have engineering programs. It's kind of like going to downtown U of T. Downtown U of T doesn't offer computer science. You got to go to a different campus if you want computer science. They only have engineering. So he's claiming a degree the school didn't even offer. And no Chen graduated even from computer engineering. So it wasn't just a typo. So that guy's, degree didn't exist. We know someone graduated in 2018 from BCIOT. None of these guys are claiming a link to BCIOT. They've changed their education to something else. So this is why I'm like, okay, well, I had to put up all three, and the first two guys clearly lied about their education. The third guy was the only one I could verify. He was on the spring convocation of the UBC for Bachelor of Commerce. So this dude exists. The TELUS guy exists, except they hired a guy with no experience as a senior manager. I'm hoping this is one of those cases where the dude has just put his current title and just stated, I was working at Accenture for 9 years, and by the ninth year, I was a senior manager before they let me go. Because, this profile makes it look like he was hired at a school as a senior manager. You're not supposed to do that, because what the hell are you going to manage with no experience? Anyway, the last dude is in Toronto. He works in AI training. And realty, we got another realtor as a property manager and consultant. He worked at Tesla as an intern for 3 months and then had enough in China and then had enough money to open a brokerage. What the fuck was he doing at Tesla? whoring himself? Did he steal from the accounts as an intern? Like, what was he doing at Tesla in China? Then he claims he worked at the blood transfusion lab as a volunteer at Southlake Hospital. Great, so the dude donated blood at Southlake. That's in Newmarket. Um, yeah. And then he apparently has grade 3 engineering at University of Toronto. What the hell is grade 3? Is that the grade he achieved? Like a 3.0 average? And then same for Pickering College. So this dude is interesting. Only because he was in China for 3 months at Tesla. And then somehow became a really wealthy realtor. It's like, what the fuck did he do for Tesla? So anyway, um, like I said, so the dude we're looking for had a graduation. He was in BC in 2018. So the first guy, between 2018 and 2022, he was with his wife. You know, possibly doing nothing. So the Tesla dude has no records of doing anything in that period. So it could be him. It might not. We go back towards the Telus dude. Between 2018 and 2022, he's claiming he got hired at Smart Home Security and Secure Business at Telus. I think probably he's not this guy because this guy actually had some verifiable records. So if he had a degree from BCIOT, it may not be applicable, but this guy seems to sort of be working in the field that he's applicable. So we'll exclude that one for now. We'll step back over to the next one. Well, between 2018 and 2022, that's when this dude claims to be at University of Alberta, which no, he wasn't. So this might be the dude. But then again, the one over here, between 2018 and 2022, this guy's claiming to be with an engineering technologist at Surrey Schools and a senior network planning engineer at Surrey. So this guy's in BC as well. Depending, like, this is his role before City of Coquitlam. So depending on if this guy is, bullshitting, because he bullshitted about his education, what else was he bullshitting about to get hired at the City of Coquitlam? He could be either of the first two guys, potentially. But yeah, so this is the craziness that was the Chen family at Fraser Health, right? Not one of them avoided any sort of controversy. All of them had, overloaded profiles, funneling of money into educations or investments, real estate, mining. Some folks were just simply being paid for things like for running their own private clinics when they're supposed to be funding it themselves or by using the billing system. So, they're treating people who don't have billing information. So what, they're being subsidized by, Mr. Gill there to treat foreign peoples who don't have insurance. Like, why are you funding private clinics? So, and then all the people who simply just lied about their educations. There's so many of them, right? And all the people who lied about the durations with which they worked at Fraser Health. It was just like, this one was mind-boggling. I think this family alone, these 39 people, took me a long time to go through it. But it doesn't leave you very confident, does it? You see racism. You see the trend of they're hiring from a foreign country, a Taiwan people. They don't want to hire anyone local. There's plenty of local peoples of multiple ethnicities who are more Canadian, but no, I want this Taiwanese person who's not supposed to be here. Like, you can see in the one example of the lady, there was no justification for foreign students. She was the only one hired, and we had 249 other peoples in the same program who could have done that job, who were qualified to do that job. You could have chosen any one of them. And the fact that you didn't tells me you are practicing political racism and nepotism, which is illegal in Canada. So it doesn't look good. Like, what's going on in BC with this family? Anyway, so we'll continue, and like I said, as I share some stories, like this was the East Asian story. They're going, well, do someone who isn't South Asian. Don't be, don't exclude or call them out. Treat everyone equally. Okay, I'll see if I can find some more examples of different ethnicities in the Fraser report if that's what you folks are interested in. This was my first, touch on an Eastern Asian family, and man, did it kick my ass. Took a long time. Anyway, that's it for today's episode, and until next time.